Hey guys, welcome back to another video. And in today's video, I'll be making my week 2 picks. So with no further ado, let's get into it. Starting off with tonight's game, Thursday night. Commanders at the Packers. And oh boy, did Green Bay look like maybe the best team in the NFC, maybe better than the Eagles. It's arguable. And Washington, looked dominant against a not so good Giants team. I'm gonna trust the Packers at home just because the way they played last night. Not the way they played on Sunday and how good that defense looked. And hey, Jordan Love playing mistake-free football, which if he can do throughout this entire year, because like through his first 2 years, he was like making a lot of bad plays. If he keeps the mistakes to a minimum, he can be in the MVP conversation. And it's just he played excellent against Detroit. It will be a close game because both these teams are great, but I think at home in Lambeau, the Packers get off to a 2-0 start, and maybe they are the best team in the NFC. Um, Moving on to the Sunday games, Rams at the Titans. This will be a good game. Battle of first overall pick Stafford from the '09 class, and obviously the 2025 first round pick, number one overall pick, Cam Ward. I'm gonna go with the veteran Rams to win this game just because, um, LA. That defense looked pretty good. Yeah, it was against Houston, who's trying to figure things out on offense, but it could be one of the best. And against the Tennessee offense that continued to let Cam Ward down. Like if you look at his stats, it might seem like Ward had a terrible game, but he was playing really well. It's just the offensive line and the receivers were not helping him out. And this veteran LA team is going to get to 2-0 with a huge win. Moving on to Giants at the Cowboys, an NFC East battle. Russell Wilson, still the starter in New York. We'll see for how long Ryan Daboll keeps Wilson at the helm. Meanwhile, Dallas's offense, which we all knew was going to be good, played amazing against Philly's defense. Yes, without Jalen Carter, but still looked amazing. And that defense in the second half, looked pretty good. And I'm going to trust the Cowboys at home. Dallas, especially recently, has dominated the Giants. And both these teams needing their first win. It's just, I trust Dallas at home with the way their offense is playing. Now, yes, the Giants could get after Dak and make him uncomfortable. But I think with how good that offensive line looked, and I know Jalen Carter wasn't there, but how well it looked for the most part against a really good Eagles defense, I feel like as long as those guys don't, make too many penalties or cause too many bad things to happen, I think Dallas can get the win, and I think their defense could smother a bad New York offense that outside of Malik Neighbors, Tavon Tracy, it just is not that good. Moving on to an interesting game now. Niners at the Saints, and Brock Purdy gonna miss 2 to 5 weeks with a turf toe injury that he suffered on Sunday against the Seahawks, which means Mac Jones, the guy a lot of people thought back in 2021 the Niners were going to select, will be starting, taking on a Saints team that looked competitive against Arizona, and we'll see how they play this week. I think it will be a close game. Um, New Orleans at home. Even if they're a bad team, they're going to be competitive. But I'm gonna trust in Kyle Shanahan. You know, we're gonna see Mac Jones probably play the best football he's played since his rookie year because Shanahan is just one of those coaches where it's like he can get anything out of any type of quarterback, and it's going to be a close game. But with Robert Saleh's defense and with Kyle Shanahan scheming up plays, to help Mac Jones out, they get the win. Moving on to two back-to-back AFC East matchups. First, Bills at Jets. I think this will be an interesting one. The Jets, at least recently, have played the Bills pretty well. Like even last year when it was disastrous, it came down to like it was a 3-point game. It came down to Rodgers trying to find Mike Williams and he dropped the ball. So this will be a close game. And with how well Buffalo played last week, you would think I would say Buffalo. And I am gonna trust the Bills, who are the better team. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets win this one. Early on in the season, the Jets defense didn't play the greatest last week, but I think they'll get it together. And I mean, we've seen the past couple of years, Josh Allen has, struggled against the Jets. And if they play, like, if the defense is better, and, we saw how bad Buffalo's defense was last week against a rushing attack. It could be the same thing, and the Jets could, pummel the ball with Fields and Hall and then get that passing game open. But I'm going to trust Buffalo, the better team, to get the win. Moving on to the Patriots at the Dolphins. Miami, I mean, they might be the worst team in the league. And Mike McDaniel acting like nothing's wrong. Like he's like, we can only go up from here is I feel like crazy with how bad they looked. New England, I was expecting a better offensive performance from them against Vegas's defense that on paper isn't supposed to be really that great. But I'm trusting the team that looked better and that I just have more faith in, and that's the Patriots. Yes, Miami has historically against the Pats when it's in Miami have been really good, but the way Miami played last week, if the Patriots are able to play like their defense plays to like 50, 60, 70% of what the Colts did last week, I feel like Miami's offense is once again going to look bad. And if Drake May and this Patriots offense gets it going, especially like they could be throwing the ball around like Daniel Jones was, because I mean May's a great passer, and if they get this running game going better than it was in week one, I feel like on the road New England can get the win. Moving on to Seattle at Pittsburgh. DK Metcalf against his old team. Aaron Rodgers looked amazing. I think this will be a defensive game. You know, I think Rodgers won't be as great as he was last week because I think Mike Macdonald will have, he will scheme things up to get this Seattle defense to get after Rodgers. And I think Pittsburgh's defense will be much better. Like it always seems like they always have like a couple bad outings where like they give up 30 plus points and you're like, geez, is Pittsburgh's defense going to be bad? And then they are pretty good. I'm going to trust the home team and the Steelers to get the win. I wouldn't be surprised if Seattle on the road got the win, but I'm going to trust Pittsburgh at home to make just enough plays to get the win. Moving on to Ben Johnson returning to Detroit. Bears, Lions, two teams that kind of need a win. Neither wants to start 0-2. I mean, you never want to start 0-2 because it's harder to further on into the season make the playoffs. And I mean, Detroit looked horrible last week. I mean, they looked god awful on offense. The defense, I thought, played I thought the defense played better than a lot of people give it credit to. And I am going to trust the home team in the Lions to get the win. Chicago last week, it's like everything was going in their favor. Minnesota was struggling on offense. You know, like their defense without three of their top players and TJ Edwards, Jalen Johnson, and Kyler Gordon. We'll see if those guys are going to be back. But it's like everything was going right for Chicago. And then Minnesota has one good drive and, start to get things going. And then out of nowhere, Minnesota's up double digits and the Bears now have to come back. So it's like if everything was going right and they still couldn't win, I feel like on the road in Detroit, I think the Lions get back on track and get the huge win. Moving on, Jags at Bengals. I feel like this is an interesting game. And apparently, Travis Hunter, Liam Cohen said Hunter's going to play more snaps on defense this week, covering Higgins and Chase. And we'll see how that goes. Since he barely escaped with a win against the Browns when they probably should have lost, Jacksonville dominated a not so good Panthers team. So I feel like this game is going to be really telling for both these teams. I'm not really sure who to go with because, like, you would say Cincinnati because you would say they have a better roster, but it's like early season it seems like the Bengals always struggle, But then you're like, oh, Jacksonville beat up on the Panthers. Can they do the same thing? Hmm. I'm gonna say the Jags pull off the upset. I'm gonna say with how bad Cincinnati looked in week one and how bad like Cleveland outgained them. And I feel like if Jacksonville's offense plays as well as it did against Carolina against Cincinnati, I feel like they could get a huge road victory. So I'm gonna say the Jags pull it off and move to 2-0. Moving on, Cleveland at Baltimore. Joe Flacco, first time since being traded away, returning to Baltimore. This will be an interesting matchup. I'm going to trust the Ravens to bounce back. I'm going to trust the Ravens to bounce back, even though, with how bad they choke games. But I'm going to trust at home. The Ravens seemingly, play much better at home. I'm going to trust this offense to get going and hopefully trust this defense to look like the 2023 form and not the early 2024 form. Moving on, Panthers at Cardinals in the 4 p.m. play. Arizona's offense, disappointed me, but their defense was, that was the Saints offense, but it was pretty damn good. Carolina, I picked them to win and they looked absolutely abysmal. I do think, I do think people are overreacting to Bryce Young looking bad. I think it was 1 week. He was out. He was like his left tackle wasn't there, so he was getting pressured a lot more. If Ekwonu is back, I think this will be a closer game, but I'm gonna trust the Redbirds to move to 2-0. My picks were right. It'd be a three-way tie with LA, San Fran, and Arizona to be 2-0, which that'd be interesting to say the least. Moving on, Eagles at the Chiefs. Super Bowl 59 rematch. Philly coming off a game where their offense looked really good, at least in the first half, and their defense, without Jalen Carter, could not really do a thing until the second half. Meanwhile, KC, without Xavier Worthy, without Rashee Rice, and this defense, it looked horrible against the Chargers team, not known as a pass-happy offense. Could we see the same thing? I think it's likely, but I think I'm going to trust the Chiefs to bounce back. I feel like Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and this Chiefs team, everybody's doubting them. Everybody's saying, "Oh, team's going to be horrible, and then they bounce back with a um, huge win to keep the season alive and give Philly their first loss. Moving on, Broncos at the Colts. This week could be telling on if Daniel Jones is back or if it was just how bad Miami is as a defense. Bo Nix did not perform well. Did have some flashes, but I was disappointed with how he played. That defense looked amazing. It was against Tennessee, but it was making plays. We all expected that. I think this is a telling week for both teams. Can Bo bounce back and look more like his rookie self? Or is Daniel Jones the real deal? Denver, Indianapolis. Who do I go with? I'm going to say the Broncos. I'm going to say Denver. With how well their defense is, I think they'll be able to stop Daniel Jones. I don't think he's going to be able to dominate like he did against Miami. And I think Denver's offense can do just enough against a really good, stout Colts defense and get the win. Moving on to Sunday Night Football. Falcons at the Vikings. Michael Penix, J.J. McCarthy. Last time these two played, it was the national championship back in 2024. Do we have an encore? Well, let's hope not, because that was a blowout. I think this will be a good game. Both offenses will be playing well. I think both defenses will also be playing well. And I'm going to trust Kevin O'Connell and this Vikings team to move to 2-0. It's just Atlanta last week, and I know it was Tampa Bay with how good they played, but it's like they had so many opportunities to take the lead and they just couldn't. And, late in that game, Penix played well. The missed field goal from Younghoe Koo, is, kind of weird because he's usually being one of the best kickers. But I'm going to trust Minnesota. Somehow, after a poor performance through 3 quarters, was able to play excellent in the fourth quarter. I think they continue that momentum into this game. And then moving on to the Monday Night doubleheader, Bucks at Texans. Baker against CJ Stroud. Last time these two teams played, it was a shootout. And Houston won, I think, 30 or 40 something. It was a crazy back and forth game. Two teams, that struggled offensively but are really good defensively. And I'm going to trust the Bucks on the road to get the win. As much as I want to trust Houston's offense and trust CJ Stroud, it's just against a really good Rams defense, Stroud and this offense couldn't do anything. Nico Collins was basically invisible. And this defense will play excellent. They will play great. But I just can't trust this offense to really put it together, because and Tampa Bay's offense, despite playing a Falcons defense much improved, and Baker and this offense still looked really good. And I think I think the better offense gets the win. And then Chargers at the Raiders, two teams trying to start 2-0 in the AFC West. I'm going to go with the Chargers, the better team. Harbaugh, Carroll, first matchup since 2014, I want to say. It's been over a decade since they last coached against each other. And I say the Chargers get the win. And they move to 2-0. And yeah, those are my picks. Hope you guys enjoy this video. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video. And yeah, hope you guys have a great day, and bye.